was Christmas 1993. My parents bought us a Sega Genesis. Or, since I already covered this part in my Hyperstone Heist review, I think I'll just show you a clip of that review to cover the background.
Christmas Day 1993, my parents blessed us with a Model 2 Sega Genesis, with Sonic 2 as the pack-in title, and our very own copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstone Heist. Previously, I had no idea what a Sega Genesis was. I vaguely remember seeing the Genesis Does commercials on TV, but only knew Nintendo to this point. All I knew was my brother was super excited to get a Sega Genesis, so I shared in his excitement, having no idea what a Sega Genesis even was. The very first Sega Genesis game we booted up was Hyperstone Heist, putting Sonic 2 on the back burner. Upon finally seeing Hyperstone Heist that Christmas morning, for the first time in my life, I noticed graphics. Playing through NES games, I never took the time to notice if one game looked better or ran better than another. Being uninformed at the time, games were just games. Some were more fun than others, but as far as visuals go, it was never a priority in my mind. However, when I first booted up Hyperstone in all its RF switch glory on the tiny TV we had in our room, I marveled and remember saying, "Wow, now games look like cartoons." I was blown away and convinced that graphics cannot look any better than what was before my eyes.
Sonic 2 was the pack-in game for my Sega Genesis, and the other game I associate with one of many next-generation leaps in hardware over the course of my gaming life. Not only was I just wowed with the visuals and the jump from NES to Genesis, but I had never seen any game move so fast in my life. That, my friends, was the power of blast processing! Yes, just some marketing jargon, but seeing Sonic 2 in action brought some credibility to the claim. We played Hyperstone Heist more, but my brother and I would still play the crap out of this game too. Whether it be in the two-player race mode, where he would always win, or playing the single player. Granted, I always had to be Tails, being the younger brother. I have so many fond memories associated with playing this game. I remember the very first time I watched my brother beat the game, a feat that I did not accomplish until my late teens or early 20s without a Game Genie, that is. And we celebrated as the credits rolled. I remember pouring hours into this game using that Game Genie. I know the argument with cheat devices is that they lessen the likelihood of you playing the game again, but I would put in my favorite cheats and play for hours as Super Sonic. I've never actually opened up Super Sonic without the Game Genie as my confession. The closest I have gotten is to the 7th Chaos Emerald before I gave up, but I was so close, at least once. In fact, I loved playing this game with the Game Genie so much, my very first YouTube video ever is footage of me playing Sonic 2 with the Game Genie codes on, in all its grainy goodness now. I have a lot of history with Sonic 2, as I'm sure many of you do too. Fond memories of playing it with my family, and so many hours poured into it over the years. But the strongest memory I have with the game has to do with every time I get to the Casino Night boss battle. So in January 1994, I get back to school, this elementary school I was going to at the time, and I was on the playground and I was talking to another girl at the school who also got a Sega Genesis for Christmas, and we were both excited and we were talking about it, and we were talking about Sonic 2 and how my brother and I at the time could not beat the Casino Night boss at the end, and she said that that's exactly where her and her family were stuck at. And I just remember this conversation. I remember it very vividly. 9-year-old kid talking to another 9-year-old kid. The next school year, we ended up going to different middle schools and stuff. I went to Franklin, she went to Hawthorne. But it turns out the next school year, she ended up dying from a asthma attack. And so, and every single time I get to that boss, I remember her. And actually, I remember that whole is. I think of her a lot whenever I play this game. And a lot of people think that we're just a bunch of 20-somethings, 30-somethings, 40-somethings trying to relive some, I don't know, live in an eternal state of adolescence because we're playing games and stuff that children used to do and we're like adult children. But I think a lot of the reasons that we actually do retro game is because it reminds us of people and stuff in the past. It reminds us of our past. It's not just we were looking at everything with rose-colored glasses. I think it's to me, it was always connecting me to other people, and I'm sure a lot of you can actually understand this. It's some of these games we played as kids, and it brought us together with other people, and we have memories of people that aren't even with us anymore, and I'll never forget her. I'll never forget the lesson that she taught a 10-year-old boy of how life can be gone so fast. So, sorry if I'm sounding like I always wonder, who would she be now? And what would she look like? Would she have kids? Because time doesn't heal all wounds. We weren't like the best of friends, but I'll never forget her. And that's something I always associate, and that's something I always think about whenever I get to this boss. A boss I can beat pretty easily now. But yeah, like I said, it's not just about retro games, it's about people we knew. It brought us together for something, it's conversations. A conversation I had that no one else in the world will ever remember. Whew, okay, so, and with that, I'm gonna try and get this review back on track. But yes, Sonic 2, every single time I get to this boss, I remember you. I will never forget you, Stacy, and I will never forget the lesson that you taught me about life. So if you guys have any friends or family tonight, let them know you value them and appreciate them. Tell them you love them, because you never know. Now with that, back to this review. I have played through this game so many times over the years, and I'm sure that most people watching this have too. Between the 3 to 5 cartridges I have on the Genesis alone, plug-and-play consoles, and countless compilations, I probably own it 10 times over by now, but I never get tired of playing it no matter which version. Like the Sonic Mega Collection Plus version on the PS2 that I used to capture this footage. I suppose I could have just as easily used my original Genesis cart, but my PS2 was already hooked up for capture and more convenient. The Mega Collection version is emulated well. Some sounds aren't quite right, but then again, depending on the game, some sounds aren't the same depending on which Genesis model you're using. Genesis sound emulation has always seemed to be pretty difficult when it comes to people who make either the plug-and-play consoles or just emulators or compilations in general. So what is it that I love about Sonic 2? The controls are perfect and responsive, the music is fantastic and iconic, and seeing Sonic loop through loops so fast the screen can't even keep up with him is a blast. Not a 3D blast. I don't care who you are, that's punny. However, for me, the star of the show is the level designs that give the player a choice. I never play through the game the same way twice, because Sonic's levels are complex and have a ton of alternate paths and hidden areas. In fact, it's a retro Sonic trademark that every level has 10 different ways to get from the beginning of the level to the end. Players can blow through the levels as fast as they want, or they can slow down and find the different paths. The game is linear but also open-ended. There is a deep level of exploration in every level of the game, should you choose to explore the levels thoroughly. I've owned this game for almost 27 years now, and I don't even know if I've seen everything there is to see in each level yet. Also, with my childhood of Game Genie use, jumping super high in the air helped me find other parts of the levels that I never would have found otherwise. Overall, you could spend 10 years playing Sonic 2 and still find new areas. Nothing against classic Mario, but something Genesis does that Nintendo don't is have their mascot character in a game with so many paths to explore along the way. Not that Mario doesn't have multiple paths, but nothing on the level of Sonic, which is what helped set Sonic apart in the era of mascots with attitude. Another trend kicked off by Sega's mascot with attitude. For Sonic 2, Sega introduced Tails as Sonic's companion. For the most part, Tails, when controlled by the computer, is dumber than a box of hammers. But he does save your butt at times. He also gets you killed, however. His best use is against the Metropolis Zone boss, though, because he's completely invincible. Park Sonic in the corner and fight the boss with Tails. A little tip. Pro tip. Not that I'm a pro. If you get tired of Tails, though, you can always turn him off in the options screen. However, if you get tired of Sonic, you can play through the entire game as Tails. The appeal being Tails jumps slightly higher than Sonic, and he might actually be a little bit faster. It takes me about 45 minutes to an hour to beat this game now, and I still enjoy it every time I play. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but I love this game. One of my favorite scenes in the game is the Tough as Nails last level. A level I dreaded as a child, because I could never beat it without cheating. But the satisfaction of mastering 8 hits against Metal Sonic, and then 12 against Robotnik, oh, okay, Eggman, without any rings and 1 hit, you die, brings an immediate feeling of satisfaction, and yes, even today I almost cheer as Sonic speeds off the exploding ship to the sweet, sweet sounds of victory! The bottom line! I didn't really play the original Sonic. In fact, I'm actually quite terrible at it. I just can't get my rhythm in that game. I didn't acquire Sonic 3 until well into adulthood, so by default, this is my favorite game in the Sonic series. And because it was the pack-in, it might actually be a fan favorite as well. I love Sonic 2. Play it alone, play it with a friend, or play it as Knuckles if you happen to have Sonic and Knuckles on the Genesis, which is still one of the coolest retro add-ons in gaming history. I have so many memories with this one, and I love it.